Okay. I think it's almost time. It's about 4:05, so I'm going to get started in just a second here. Just checking again to make sure that everything's good, everything's recorded, everybody can hear me. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time around from some of our previous presentations and previous recordings, and that I'm sharing my screen and I'm gonna have a video up that is gonna show some stuff for the content creation. I created some for this is the I guess I'm getting ahead of myself already. So I guess we'll get started then. Thanks for coming to tonight's presentation. This workshop is creating content for educational presentations presented by TAMIU Advancing Research and Curriculum. My name is Franco Zamora. I am the writing consultant for TAMIU ARC, and I also am going to be the host for this particular workshop. We do some of these professional development workshops throughout the semester. This is our second to last one, so we've got one more coming up that I will promote kind of during the middle of this, kind of at the end, kind of the middle. This presentation, which is about content creation, is going to focus on two different areas. One of them is about making static visual image presentations using. Well, I'm specifically going to be using Canva to make this visual content, but you can use very much the same principles or the same design principles in any other sort of visual static image creation development that you want. It's universally applicable. And the other thing that I'm going to be showing you is making mixed media content, which is going to be audio and visual and movement, stuff that then moves in video. And I'm specifically going to be using Adobe Premiere Pro, but this content creation for video content media is also universally applicable. You can use other free software or even Canva, which has its free version of video creation software. Not an endorsement, not a sponsorship. We just happen to have access to Canva and Adobe through our office here at ARC. And I'm most comfortable using those programs, so that's what I'm going to be showing you tonight. If you have questions, I would prefer that you save them until the end of the recording or until the end of the presentation. And without further ado, I'm going to be introducing a special guest co-host for tonight. So let me get started. Hi everyone, I'm Franco Zamora, TAMIU ARC's writing consultant. Thank you for taking your time to be here today, Franco. You're going to be a lovely co-host. You're very welcome, Franco. Franco's going to be helping me out here today to demonstrate some elements of content creation. This is because I pre-recorded some stuff for this presentation to show off image creation and mixed media video creation. And both of those processes would take too long to show you and would probably be really boring if I just showed you the final products. So this presentation is partially me explaining stuff in real time and partially me explaining stuff that I already recorded. Mostly it's going to be me explaining stuff in real time. I'm not going to get to talk? No. Should never have agreed to this. No, we shouldn't have. So here's me looking at static visual creation in Canva. I am going to be, I have this recorded from earlier in the week, and I am going to be, I zoomed through this. This is 300% speed. So this is me making the flyer for the presentation that's going to be on November 30th, which is the upcoming workshop. Like I said, I'm kind of cross-promoting that workshop with this one. That next workshop that's coming up is dealing with um, de-stressing during finals week. And so this is me looking at uh, flyer flyer designs, or maybe some uh, different keywords related to de-stress or stress, and me looking at um, the TAMIU ARC's page for what that event is going to be about and when. So now I looked at just a flyer that I liked. I liked the visual, the blue on this one, the way it kind of looks up and down. It says Education Week 2022, but of course in Canva I can customize it as much as I want. I can change the wording, the spacing, and even the images here, which I think they're fine images. I like the way that they're stacked like this, but I kind of didn't like the way that they, or what the images actually are. So here I am putting in all the information that I'm going to need. November 30th, 2023, 6 p.m., hybrid, virtual, in person. I'm making it so that the text is visible, not too big, not too small. Here you see me deleting some of the cluttering images that I didn't like. I'm using a prefab Canva template because Canva's got tons of them and we have, again, access to it. People have made ones previously, and I happen to really like the way that the bubbles, the images we're looking at here. Here you see me taking an image of my own and putting it into the Canvas image. So that's our TAMIU ARC logo that I had pre-cut and like ready to go. I just kind of resized it and put it where I wanted it to go. Here you see me looking for some images to go with de-stressing as a theme. So I got a guy relaxing. I looked for the word comfort. Here you see me tilting the image, resizing it, making it so that it looks nice and that it's evenly distributed. It's not cluttering up the page like it was in the previous version of this flyer. I liked that picture of a brain relaxing. I thought that was really kind of a cute one. Here I got a cocoa mug because it's going to be for finals week. It's going to be Christmassy, almost kind of wintry themed. You see me picking another image here, but then I deleted it because I thought I didn't like the Christmas tree. Here you see me picking out the word, like a word bubble for chill, but then I deleted it because I thought that it was going to be too much clutter. I wanted to focus more. I wanted to give the textual design element to the title, which was de-stress for finals. I thought putting the word chill in big letters would distract. Here you see me looking for a bunch of different words like breeze and a comfort and breath. And I thought that some of these were a little too abstract, so I decided not to go with any of them. And I decided, you know what, 3 images is probably plenty. Here you see me changing the color of the background to try and match something like the brain, or try to have like a comforting, eye-catching image, but I really didn't care for any of them. Here you see me demonstrating a color wheel. This is an idea of color theory. Color theory shows complementary colors, so you see me there trying to match colors and find ones that complement each other. In this case, pink is the main color of the brain, and I really can't change that. So I picked green, this nice light, darker green color, because it is complementary to the pink of the brain. And you can, of course, pick whatever color suits you. There's different ideas of color theory, of like red being aggressive and blue being calming. I went with green as a color. I felt like it was a nice balance of calming while still being eye-catching. Here you see me adjusting the colors of the images themselves. You can actually do that in Canva, which is really nice. If they're pre-generated, most of the time it works out fine. See, here you see that I wanted to emphasize the title of the text a little bit more, so I added in this nice cloud visual background, and you see me trying to adjust it, trying to slide colors around so that I can get a nice contrasting color while still being not too cluttered and easy to see at a glance. I really liked those clouds. I liked the way they looked purple. I thought that matched the brain pretty well. Here you see me adding in more information for the contact information for like how to even sign up for this event. That's always really important to consider when you're making your event. You need to make sure that people can actually get the information that is important to contact you if that's something you need. And here you see me adding a white background. I'm trying to add like another cloud here, but I just didn't like the way this one turned out. I didn't like that white background because it was just not the right shape. It looked kind of tacky. I picked out this other cloud so that I could readjust it. Here you see me messing around with the layer to make sure that the layer of the cloud isn't covering the book image right there. So I have to bring it forward and bring my cloud like that forward. And so then I stretch it out so it looks nice. That's the final version of this flyer. You're going to see me continue to mess around with the slider for the color, but I'm not going to end up changing anything. Eventually I decide that I like the purple the best. Make sure that when you're making your flyers for your own educational stuff, for your own content, that it is not only visually appealing, but structurally appealing. That the things that that people are going to see first are mostly what is available right at the forefront of your brain, right at the forefront of your mind. Here I'm pausing the video to give you a good look at this particular flyer. Make sure that you have all of your accurate presentation of information. In this case, we have the name of our organization, we have the title of our event, the date and time that it's going to be at, where the location is, and then also what kind of workshop it is or what kind of thing it is, and how to contact us. That's all the key information. If I were making this for a schedule for the rest of the semester, I would of course have to make sure that my text is balanced out with my images. Here you see that I split it up so that I have images in the middle and text kind of around it. I think this is a good balance. It strikes a nice balance of text to image ratio. Some people will tell you that there's different ways to eye catch what's called different golden ratios, but I am not a graphic designer ultimately at the end of the day. I am just a self-taught content creator for the organization, for the education, and also for education in general. But I think that this works pretty well as far as design goes, trying to squeeze in as much as you can for the little amount of time that it took me to do this, about 20 minutes to make this flyer, about 30, less than 30 minutes. And then just me adjusting stuff. Here I'm jumping already. That's the end of that. You see me now jumping to making stuff in Premiere Pro. I'm going to explain some of these things. I'm going to have to pause at certain points to show you some of these things. Here you see me making the video. This is very, very meta for me. You see me making the video that you saw at the beginning with my co-host, past Franco. I'm making that video where I'm talking to myself. So here you see that I opened a new file in Premiere Pro. Most file editing software, most video editing software is going to look like this, where I have to go in and add in a video or content. Media is what it's called. I have to add in stuff to my media library at the very beginning because it's blank. There's nothing in here. So here I started with the video I recorded of myself talking to myself right at the beginning so that I can manipulate it with the timeline here. Most of the manipulation is going to be in this timeline, which is the thing here on the bottom. Here you see me circling it, messing around with it, making sure that I can hear myself, changing the volume and other things like that, sliding it around, making sure that it's where I want it to be. I end up cutting this thing here at the beginning where there's a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra space, so that I can get just the good bits, because there was some of me starting and some of me talking, going, let me get another take, blah blah blah. So you see me deciding where that volume is. You see this here, this like up and down, these jaggedy lines. That's the volume of me talking. You can't hear it because it's muted on this video, but you can hear me talking about the volume here because that would have been distracting. Too many layers of meta-ness, too much meta-ness. So here you see the up and down, these peaks is what they're called, volume peaks. You can tell where I'm talking because of those peaks. that's where the good stuff is. That's where the content is. So you see that there's a bunch of empty dead space. Some of it's intentional so that you can hear me talking to myself, of course. So I'm going to leave that there. But the rest of this, you're going to see me put a end marker here, and you're going to see me cut it or extract it in this case. So there's me deciding where to make the cut, where to put the end mark, the mark out, and then you see me adjusting to where it's going to be, where I'm going to make that adjustment. You see me deciding whether or not I should lift it. I decide to lift it in the beginning, but then I have this extra layer of absolute nothingness. There's just no content there at all. It's a blank space where I don't want to be. So I end up extracting it instead. The way that visual media, video media editing works, and the way that it's different from static media, is you have this extra element to consider of time. And time is really abstract. It's difficult to visualize a lot of the time, especially for people who are just starting, people who have never done this before. Time is really hard to imagine. And so to show it as a timeline like this, as something that's visual, is hard. But you see me here messing around with audio because I didn't like the way that my recording was. I didn't like the sound of my voice. Most people don't. But you see me here trying to mess with it, trying to change the effects of it. I don't have a recording of that. I don't have a sound recording of that. But you do see me that I'm at least picking around and trying to do different effects, trying to make my voice sound less tinny, make it sound less reverby, getting rid of background sounds using Adobe's effects suite, which Adobe's got really good effects for removing clicking and removing echoing, so that's nice. Adjusting the volume, which you don't really see me do here, but I do it a little bit. Here you see that I tried to add an ARC logo right at the beginning. This is also interesting because, again, with that element of time being a visual in media, if I'm trying to mess around with the visual images, I'm trying to add effects and trying to change the appearance of the video and add layers of stuff on top, it messes with the natural recording. It makes things unnatural looking. But I really want this transition that you saw, that wiping transition. So I have to make an adjustment of putting the image that I want, the logo there, and then adding an effect that Adobe gives me to the end of that clip so that I can make that adjustment. But I am still not satisfied with it. You see that here I'm trying to add in extra stuff so that it looks more professional, or it doesn't look like I'm an amateur making videos, which I am, frankly, just an amateur making videos. But you see that I'm making adjustments to the size of the image, but it's still not where I want it to be. I've messed around too much with the settings here, and so now my face is blown up. It's all big. So you see me trying to fit it to the screen, which is what I end up doing here. I wanted to delete this. I thought about deleting this from the recording of this that I was going to show you all tonight. But I ended up leaving it in because I wanted to emphasize that a lot of this is a learning process, and it takes a good amount of time sometimes where you're like going back and forth, fighting with the machine, trying to visualize it. It doesn't just happen all at once, even for me who's been working with Premiere Pro for about 2 years now. So it is kind of a learning process, even learning on the go. Here you see that I finally got to a point where I could blow up the image and make it look a little bit nicer. I'm using Adobe's editing suite, but whatever it is that you end up using will have something like this. Adobe just happens to have that little bit where you can click on this tab and easily, well, I say easily, if you know where to look, if you know where to click, you end up knowing how to do this. But if not, then you're like, well, what do I do? I mostly just changed the position and the scale of that image. Changing the scale of images makes it so that they can be bigger or smaller. And you'll see me also messing around with an image to make it smaller in just a second here, where I decide I want a logo to go at the bottom of my screen as well. So you see me adding it in there and then stretching it out so that it's going to appear over time consistently underneath the bottom of my screen like that. That's it, when I was a kid, my dad worked in media. He worked in television production. He used to call that a television bug. That's what they call those little logos at the bottom. I don't know if that's what they still call them. But anyway, so you see me here trying to change that bug with effects, trying to make it look less stark against like the image of my screen. Um, this is just me adjusting. This is just me playing around with video, trying to make it look less amateur, like I said, more professional. Um, and I couldn't get the effect that I wanted. I couldn't find in Adobe's effect suite. I couldn't get the video or the visual effect that I wanted. You'll see me find it in a second. But I just wanted to show that like Adobe has all these different visual and audio effects that even though they're not the ones that I wanted, they are available. And again, depending on what software you end up using to make video content, Canva has its free software too for YouTube video making. This can be pretty impressive, pretty effective. I remember my dad making some of these edits by hand, and it was kind of a nightmare back in the early 2000s. So here you see me finally get around to making this bug at the bottom of my screen opaque under editing effects. So then you see me finally having that opaque image that I wanted. But then you also see me pausing here, hesitating, because I'm like, I guess that's it. I have my image at the beginning. I have the transition with the sliding wipe effect. I have my little bug at the bottom. But there's something that I wanted still. So you see me go and grab an audio file and put it into my media library. And you can't hear this because I'm talking over it. But you hear me looking for what is the clapping sound effect that startled some of you at the beginning of this session, and I apologize for that. That's what that clapping sound effect is at the beginning. Here you see that I can't overlap it with the I'm trying to like make it softer, make it lighter, trying to make it so that it fades in and out. I wanted it not to be so loud that it's frightening, which mission failed, right? But I wanted it not to be so loud that it was over me either. So I end up having to adjust using, you see me messing around with this here. These little dots, I think they have a proper name, but I'm not sure. I call them bypass, or not bypass things. They're like, they have a name. I can't remember right now. But you put them here. They're this little button here that Adobe has. Other visual video media creation things have them. They're sort of like mark in, mark out. They're essentially showing. They're telling the creation software that this is where you want something to be adjusted. They're like adjustment marks. And so you see me putting one here at the end of where the clapping sound effect clip is. But then I ended up not liking it, so I deleted it. And then I put in another one here at the same place so that I could make an adjustment of sound over time. So that the sound starts off very loud at the beginning, but then becomes softer at the end. And you can't really hear this, you can't really visualize this. It's hard to describe it in an abstract sort of way, so I'll probably have to demonstrate it again once this clip is over, the way that video sound effect goes from very hard, loud clapping to soft transitional clapping as it fades into the reveal that there I am. And this is one last thing, because that's the end of that clip. That's the end of me messing around with that clip. One last thing that I'm showing off here, which is something I recorded on my phone earlier this morning, to be honest with you. You see me here looking at the worst part of video creation for me personally, which is the part at the end where you export your video and it buffers, and it takes forever for it to be exported and loaded. So here you see me looking at the 10.6 rendering of the project, 10.7. And then here I am looking at the screen of me with this little like 5-minute recording, just trying to export it, trying to render it, and then it takes me so much time. It took me hours just to render that little clip. So with all of that in mind, let me play the beginning of this clip again so that you can hear that transition. Hi everyone, I'm Franco Zamora, TAMIU ARC's writing consultant. And you notice that it goes from a very loud effect to a soft effect that just fades out. Once I have the final version, because ideally this will be the final version of this. How's it going? Hi. Once I have the final version of this ready to go and uploaded to YouTube, which is where you could find much more of our content creation content, I'll also do things like have YouTube add in captions and closed captions so that people who are audio impaired can still understand what I'm saying and so on. So that's also important to consider when making content for whatever purpose you end up making it. And so that's pretty much all that I have to present right now. That's all that I planned to present tonight, was just those two things, the image and this video itself, which is the product, the content. But if you have questions, now is when I would definitely ask them. So here's the other one, that image that I end up making. And also this image acts as shameless promotion for our next event, our upcoming De-Stress for Finals workshop on November the 30th, which I will not be presenting, but I have the poster designed for it, ready to go. So, anybody have any questions? And thank you for joining us tonight as well. I know that's pretty quick, but yes, give me a second. Okay, no worries. I guess one other tip that I have for this sort of thing is that I would definitely recommend, especially when making recording audio, I would recommend having a script. You see that I have a script, but it's a script with the ability to improvise. So I have I introduce myself at the beginning, and then specific words to say, specific words that I want the recording to include, while also being flexible. The script also helps for when I make captions later. I can always use this as the basis for making the captions. About the rendering, that's not the job for the laptop, right? A PC would be preferable. I would highly recommend having a piece of hardware that is that has a lot of memory, that has the capacity to load lots of stuff. I couldn't tell you the specifics of what I'm using, because this is just the university's computer, to be honest with you. But I do know that I end up running into an issue where even just making this video, very short video, it was giving me errors like, you are out of space on your hard drive, and you need to clear up space on your disk drive, and that can be quite a headache, quite an issue. So certainly when you render it, I would say you want to have a machine that's powerful enough to render it. Or, another thing to consider when you're doing that is what file output you're creating it in, what file you're making it in. So in this case, I have rendered this particular video in in Adobe's specific output, which makes it a I don't remember right now. I want to say it's a .wav, a WAV. It's an MP4 file. You can see that that's what this says here, MP4. MP4s are like it's like the highest quality lossless version of this file. But if I wanted to do something simpler, I could maybe make it a .wav or a WMV. Like you can have it be less high quality to save you some disk space. But if it's going on to some place like YouTube where lots of people are going to view it, or you're going to use it over and over again, I would definitely recommend outputting it in a high quality. Do you have any other questions? Do you have any tips about timing the video or live presentation? Um, that one, timing the video, I think I can speak to that a little bit. I'll say that you want to keep it not too long. We have put out videos that are a bit longer, like 30 minutes to an hour. I'm starting to see people take a liking to longer content, depending on what they're using it for, depending on what its purpose is. But honestly, we're also seeing a lot of popularity on our short form content, which is stuff that's less than 2 minutes long. I don't know what the average content that we're putting on YouTube is. I'm sure Thano could answer that question, but I do know that people are really enjoying short form content that's less than 2 minutes. Unless you're planning to reuse over and over again your longer form content, like for a recorded class or something, then maybe that would be more suitable. But I would honestly recommend if you can, keeping it somewhere between like less than 10 minutes, somewhere around 5 minutes would probably be really good for a lot of people. Maybe even less than that if you can manage it. This particular video is less than 15 minutes. It's about 15 minutes long. And of course, I made it so that I could pause it and stop it, and it doesn't have any background music or recording of my voice, a voiceover, which I thought about including a voiceover or even stretching some of this content out so that it wasn't as quick. You see that on some of these, it was very quick, where I'm trying to give commentary on something that's happening very fast. I think if I had more time, if I had the ability to plan this out a little bit more, I would have stretched some of those areas out so that they weren't going by so quickly. So maybe it's an issue of practice and knowing how much time is available. But I would say shorter is probably better. Live presentations, I think it's kind of similar, although people tend to give you a little bit more of their attention span when they're being presented to live. I work with first year college students, freshmen, and I'll be honest with you, their attention span's not very much, but I think that's true of kind of everybody, right? Most people's attention span is about 15 minutes on a good day, uh, probably like 5 on a bad day. Sometimes you can really, really stretch it to like 30, but after that, I think you start losing people after about 20. Um, 15 is probably fine. Uh, After that, you have to engage them in some other way. Switch to a different topic, do something else, make them stand up and spin around, do an activity of some kind. Switch to a different presenter, of course. Does that sort of answer your question?